team, Stanford is, to beat undefeated teams, undefeated going into the finals 2 other years, UCLA in 1992 and Long Beach in 2001. So they have some history of being able to take down the never taken down before team.
Blair Brown across court. Point Penn State. Fawcett with the service error, gives it right back. We've talked, Karch, about how important it is on that serve-receive, the passing efficiency scale. 0 is not a very good pass. 3 is the best you can get. And on that scale, Penn State's numbers the better thus far. Absolutely.
For the match, Penn State is at a 2.4. Stanford at only about a 2.1. You might have expected Stanford to lead that battle. They have to lead that battle if they're going to have a chance here. The poorer the pass, the less a team can run its offense. And there it is, Penn State winning easily or more easily in the first set. A closer margin there, but still Penn State leading and passing well above its season average of about 2.3.
The pass to Lickman, who sets up Barbosa. Off of Holhouse and up. Lickman outside. Barbosa stuffed. Armano and Brown all over it at 6'5" and 6'2".
Exactly. That is a scary combination there. Penn State loves to have Blair Brown, that 6'5", to shut down some of the line. Let's see what kind of a pass Stanford makes this time on that 0 to 3 scale.
On a net that's 7 feet 4 inches, they are playing way above it. So is Farouk Akinradawa with the blast.
And that was a perfect pass, or what you would rate a 3 on that 0 to 3 scale. And you see Stanford's offense winning that battle. Akinradawa with the kill.
Launch the pass to Glass. Go back outside to Brown, looking for the touch.
And something that we saw a year ago after 2 sets and 2 days ago after 2 sets, Stanford has switched Barbosa and Kleinman in the lineup. They're opposite where their normal spots are. And it worked a year ago. They came storming back to force a 5th. It also worked 2 days ago, storming back from down 2-0 to win 3-2.
That's right. Penn State was up 2-zip in last year's championship match, and Stanford won sets 3 and 4 before the Nittany Lions won the championship in the 5th. First time in history we've got the same 2 teams in consecutive finals. Megan Hodge rips it.
Wow, that's a scary sight. Right over. And you saw just a little seam between the block. When a hitter gets up this high, she can hit that little bit of a seam right there between Lickman and Akinradawa. Lickman has to move it in just a bit. Akinradawa has to get her shoulder right next to Lickman's.
And Russ Rose, who's been coaching for 30 years, you'd think he'd seen it all, but he says about Megan Hodge, she does more things that I've never seen before. Just a tremendously gifted volleyball player.
She has blown him away sometimes with the capability she has. In fact, earlier this season, playing against Ohio State, they were actually down set point for the first time and turned it on, got the last 3 or 4 kills of that set when they eventually kept their streak alive, winning 30 to 28 in that set.
Fawcett out of the back row. She cannot step in front of that line to hit. Got the touch for the point.
A great team will usually have one player who can be effective out of the back row, as we saw 2 days ago with Destiny Hooker from Texas. Penn State has both players, 2 players who can do that. They always have, like Hodge right here, but it goes to Armano. They always have that option to come down the middle out of the back row.
Glass. They'll run it again to Armano and got up before the block did. The ESPN, the magazine Academic All-American of the Year, can swing it too.
And she is so fast in transition. She was blocking just a fraction of a second before, then gets out to the sideline and catches that block unready.
They are getting, if they're not sending it back, they're getting a piece of everything to slow it down as Stanford returns the favor. We're at the NCAA Volleyball Championships. The 2-seed Stanford, the 1-seed Penn State. And Beth Mowens along with Karch Garai. The Cardinals seeking their 7th national championship. Penn State going for their 3rd and their 2nd in a row. They're also chasing a very special place in history. trying to earn the label of the best team ever. They're undefeated at 37-0. They've rattled off an NCAA record 63-match win streak. And for the first time ever, their entire starting lineup winning All-America honors this season.
Everybody but the libero. And it's awfully hard to get credit if you're a defensive specialist on this Penn State team. Rallies don't last long. You don't get opportunities to dig. Coach Rose was actually very happy just to have an honorable mention in the Big Ten for Roberta Holthouse, who has shown us some great stuff in these last 2 rounds of play.
Russ Rose won the National Coach of the Year honor as Penn State shows us why they are the top blocking team in America.
And one of the reasons why, we talked about it earlier, every player can touch over 10-5, can touch a basketball rim and over the top of these antennas you see out by the sidelines.
Stanford trying to keep this third set close to stay in the match and pull off what they did a year ago when they were down 2-0 to the Nittany Lions and rallied, winning the next 2 sets to force a 5th game. As Kleinman now into double digits, she's got 10 kills.
We got a great view of that coming right at us again. When she comes in for that, what's called a rip set, about 10 feet off the sideline, she'll often hit it sharp angle. Penn State needs to adjust and force her to hit down the line, and they were practicing that dig yesterday in practice off Coach Rose himself.
Ailes covers the tip. Waller is blocked. The bump to Barbosa. Don't have a net violation on the Cardinal. Point Penn State. Alicia Glass back to serve. Barbosa off speed again, but Penn State's got it. Quick hitter to Okova. Good D by Holthouse. Barbosa. Tipped. Glass going to back set Blair Brown, who lets it rip.
Two of the best players for Penn State in the postseason got the least awards in the All-American honors.
They are gunning to end it in 3. They're on top 11-6. Welcome back to the National Championship match. We are in set 3 with Penn State leading Stanford 2-0. And it's time now for our Pontiac high-performance moment. Penn State's really letting it fly.
Getting Harmato going. Penn State had a little trouble getting her the ball for parts of that amazing 5-set match 2 days ago in the semifinals when Nebraska came back from down 2-0.
Krista Harmato, the senior, trying to close out her career. Blair Brown, the sophomore, has just been fantastic in the postseason. Evan Waller. Defense gets to another one. Fawcett's rejected. Okaba and Waller put that one back.
And that time Fawcett dragged it down a little bit, barely cleared the net. That's a risky choice as a hitter. You want to try to hit it, as I talked about earlier, flatter into the deepest 5 feet of the court is a much safer shot.
Ailes serving. Good pass to Glass. Ariel Wilson didn't put it away. Point Stanford.
Boy, did she contact that at a high point, though. That's one of those plays where Rose has seen her parts of this season make plays. He'll just say, well, that's unstoppable. Nothing you can do.
She's hitting negative so far in the match. Have not been able to get her on track. Another good block by Stanford. Starting to reassert themselves now at the net.
And Fawcett shaking her head, saying to herself, what do I have to do to put the ball past this block? First, Okova gets her, then Akinradawo.
Tough serve. It's going to get Stanford a free ball. Barbosa. Brown with the touch. Back to Blair. Ailes covers. Barbosa stuffed. How about Kleinman out of the back? Point Penn State.
Nice adjustment in the middle of that rally by Cynthia Barbosa. She didn't have a great swing, so she just threw it into the Penn State block. It comes back, and they get a whole new attempt on offense.
Feluca, look at her adjust in midair.
Coach Dunning's talked about what great vision she has. Either that, he says, or she's incredibly lucky, but I think it's the vision. She saw that there were two blockers in front of her, makes the perfect adjustment. The block had vacated an area right behind, and she drops the ball in that area.
What a legacy she will leave. A two-time Pac-10 Player of the Year, four-time All-American, last year's National Player of the Year. Human bio major. She's going to try and be a doctor someday. Oh, look at Hodge. Just pounded that one through the floor.
You can't give Penn State too many opportunities, in Stanford with a miscommunication. So Barbosa didn't get a good swing. They get the free ball and crushing it outside and over Cassie Lickman.
Looks like whole house has some blood on her hand. You see the wrap there on her leg. That was actually over up there on the left leg. She actually cut herself in their pregame warm-up, so she's giving it all for her team. Looks like a cut along the knuckles they have to take care of.
It might have come from chasing that Akinrado drop shot, that tip that came. She was actually moving in, but leaning a little right when the ball went to her left.
Out-digging Stanford 52-44 so far in the match. Glass somehow got that to Hodge. What a play by Glass to send it out wide.
Wow, what a bump set by Glass. Stanford did not expect that to go to the perfect spot. She was just trying to keep it alive, and Hodge gets a one-on-one.
Alicia Glass, outstanding work. Back to Barbosa. Glass. Armato can't send it down. Feluca's fighting behind. She crushes it.
Wow, when she gets the ball in the right spot, we've seen now several times with her ninth kill, two blockers cannot stop her. She can go sharp angle. She'll see the line open if she wants, and if not both of those are taken, she'll tip it over for the kill.
Hodge. Fishburne able to keep it alive. Can they bring it back in? You can go out of play and bring it back in on your side. But Lickman unable to dig it up.
And in that case, we saw Stanford going at the front court attacker, offensive player Hodge. She had a much more difficult job. First, she had to control the serve, then go attack, but she handled it well.
Lickman to Akinrado, rejected by Armato there in the middle. They're probably the top two middle blockers in the college game this year. That's why Akinrado with the rejection.
Akinrado tried running a new pattern, but Armato was not surprised by that. Really good effort by her. And then at the end, Hodge just running in too soon. She was waiting and waiting and waiting, expecting a much faster set.
15-12 Penn State, games to 25 after win by 2. Bad pass will give Stanford a chance. Okoba with the kill. That's her second.
That's one thing Stanford has had a difficult time doing, is getting Okoba going. She only had one kill in the semifinals in 5 sets. Now her second. She's doubled that here, but it took her. That was against Texas 2 days ago.
Glass to Hodge. No stopping that one.
That's really smart by Glass to isolate there and get Hodge against the opposing blocker, Lickman, for Stanford, who is an okay blocker, but Hodge just elevates so much she can go right over.
Fawcett. Barbosa out of the back. Hodge gets there. They'll go back to Fawcett. Tried to push it deep. Back row. Point Stanford. How about the job of Okoba at the net?
Great job, but it may have been going out of bounds. Bergen Hodge even thought, oh, I wish my teammate Krista Armato had not touched that, but Armato just couldn't get out of the way. She was stuck in the wrong place.
Stanford within 2. Penn State wins this set. They win the match. They win the national championship for the second year in a row. that Kleinman stuffed. Armano and Glass on the side.
Watch how these players get their hands over and across the net. You don't want to get necessarily high with your hands, but across the net with your hands. And Alicia Glass there on your screen, one of the best blocking setters in the country. One of the great credits to her is they don't hesitate to put her on the other team's best hitter. You can't say that about many setters in this women's college volleyball game.
Mom Rory was her coach back in high school. She has a great relationship with assistant coach Salima Rockwell, who was a three-time All-American setter here at Penn State.
And Rockwell helped her through some rough times. Amazingly, she was still contending for a starting job, not doing it all the time early in the 07 season. But eventually won out the position. They go on to win a title, and now they are only 7 points away from doubling up 2 consecutive titles.
Here's a look at Rockwell. And they're still going to have to take care of some blood on Holhouse.
Whatever they take care of, blood.
Going to look like a mummy before this one's done, but she wants to stay in the match. Holhouse with 16 digs. That's the most of anyone in the match right now.
One of the things that tough serving of Stanford kept them in that match a year ago. Coming back from 2-0, they ended up having 9 aces in that match. But so far tonight, 0 aces for Stanford. Having a lot of trouble pressuring Penn State with Stanford serve.
Barboza coming behind.
Great reach, one-handed reach by Blair Brown to stop that ball.
Waller through the block for the kill.
Nice help here. Watch that one hand, left hand by Blair Brown. Otherwise, that's just going to be a rocket down the middle. Penn State doesn't win the rally, but nice help by Brown in the middle.
Glass to Brown. Now Barboza. Another Penn State block.
That's a tough matchup. Hitting out on that left side against the right side block of Blair Brown. Hands way over the net. Great penetration.
They're up around 9 feet or so in that last block to stuff that one as Waller gets the kill. Point Stanford.
Waller had a huge match 2 years ago for Stanford in a losing effort, pushing Nebraska before Nebraska won 3-1 on this very court.
Falling to Stanford, Nebraska 2 years ago, Penn State last year, their 3rd consecutive final. Hodge gets another kill. The NCAA Championship returns to ESPN in March, starting with the Indoor Track and Field Championships as the winter season gets underway. For more information on the Winter Championships, go to ncaa.com. It's the official online home for all 88 NCAA championships. Fawcett into the tape, got it! Out of the back row. Somehow muscled that one over. Timeout Stanford. Penn State within 4 points of a 2nd national championship and a 2nd trip to the White House. We've got art when we come back. Penn State leading the championship match 2-0, and they are now just 4 points away from a 2nd national championship in a row. They went to the White House last spring after they won the 2007 title. They were there with their men's team also winning the championship, and alongside President Bush. And trying to get back maybe for a photo next spring with Barack Obama. Riding a 63 consecutive match win streak, which is an NCAA record. Undefeated national champions. There haven't been very many of them in the 28-year history of this tournament. They would join a very select group. Fawcett can't keep it alive. Here are the only other programs that have done it. Most recently, USC 35-0 back in 03.
And that 1998 Long Beach State was against undefeated Penn State having lost 2 in a row, but Penn State the next year won, making the 3rd final in a row. And Megan Hodge, unbelievable that tonight, still without a hitting error.
Wow. Last year's NCAA Finals most outstanding player.
Sorry, I missed that. I had an earlier set of stats. She had 0 errors. Now she has just 2 out of 37 attempts.
With Minock and Rodwell, Holthouse gets down again for it. Joust, Armato pushes it over. Now Kleinman, no. Hodge against one blocker with the kill. Penn State 2 points away from the title. Holthouse strong on the serve. Kleinman slowing things down. The Nittany Lions in their record-breaking season. All year long, they've been chasing not only a championship, but a spot in history as the best team ever. They've only dropped 2 sets the entire season. 6 All-Americans on the court right now. The National Coach of the Year, the National Player of the Year, and Nicole Fawcett. Stanford hanging on. The Cardinal trying to stop the bleeding a little bit here. They don't want to be the first team ever to lose in 3 consecutive finals. 15 graduating classes in a row for the Cardinal have won a championship. None of the current players have one yet. Net violation, Penn State. Can they do what they did a year ago when they came from down 2-love to Penn State to force a 5th and deciding set?
Coach Rose doesn't want to let any more than 2 points go without a timeout at this stage with that big lead. Not let that slip away.
3 points in a row for the Cardinal to force the timeout. Let's take you back to last December in Sacramento. All of the combatants last year for Penn State are back this year, so they've been playing together for a couple of seasons. Megan Hodge with the kill right there on championship point. She was the most outstanding player of the tournament, and they win it without a senior in the starting lineup. Winners in '99 as well as in '07 for Russ Rose. As their dream season continues, 63 matches they've won in a row. That's an NCAA record.
And they've made every single NCAA tournament. Only one program else to do that. Of course, the team on the other side of the net, Stanford. The 2 premier programs the last few years, along with Nebraska. Consistent excellence.
John Dunning. Hoping his team can pull off the comeback here. Hodge with the double-double, 15 kills, 14 digs. Colorado is going to serve. And she'll have to play in the back row in this rotation. Hodge. Rakova got it. Kleinman. Yes! 4 in a row for Stanford.
Well, Penn State might want to think about going back to Krista Armato. The last couple of plays, Stanford's block has slowed Megan Hodge down here.
The bump to Hodge. Cross court for the kill. And a pair of match points here for Penn State. Kleinman got it. Championship point number 2. Glass looking to Armato, blocked. Krista's gonna set it. Fawcett running in, off the block. The national championship championship for the second year in a row goes to